My sister stole $10,530 from my 16-year-old son's savings, slapped him when he asked for it back, and my parents defended her. Now she's jobless, on probation, and my family thinks I'm the villain for calling the cops. Hey Reddit, Shane here. I never thought I'd end up writing something like this. But when your own family crosses lines, you didn't think they ever would. You start seeing people differently. What happened to my son, and how far my sister went to cover her tracks? It changed everything. I'm not here to rant, just to tell the story of how one choice tore a family apart and how we finally learned what family really means. That night started out like any normal evening. Dinner was done, the dishes were stacked, and my wife Allison, 38 female, was reading on the couch while I, 42 male, flipped through TV channels. Sammy, 16 male, was upstairs working on a school project. Everything felt quiet and ordinary, right up until the sound of his heavy footsteps came pounding down the stairs. He looked pale and out of breath, holding his phone like he'd seen a ghost. "Dad, my envelope's gone," he blurted out. I frowned. "What envelope?" "The one with my savings. The cash I've been saving for my car? It's gone." Allison sat upright immediately. "What do you mean gone? Are you sure?" Sammy nodded fast, panic written all over him. "I checked twice. It's not there. I keep it under my mattress. It's always there." That envelope wasn't just some random cash stash. It was something he'd built up over years. Every lawn he mowed, every birthday card from relatives, every hour he worked at the ice cream shop, all of it went into that envelope. He'd shown it to me once when he hit $10,000. I remember joking that he was richer than I was at 16. Allison and I followed him upstairs. He tore his room apart like a hurricane, tossing clothes, books, and drawers open. The desk drawer where he kept most of his things was empty, except for a few loose papers and a couple of coins. No envelope. Allison crouched down, scanning under the bed. I checked his closet. Sammy opened his backpack, then the small lockbox where he kept other stuff. Nothing. "How much exactly was in there?" I asked quietly. He swallowed. $10,530. I counted it last week. Allison blinked hard. "That's a lot of money to just vanish." I ran a hand through my hair. "Sammy, are you sure you didn't move it? Maybe you hid it somewhere else and forgot?" He glared at me, frustrated. "Dad, I'm not stupid. I didn't misplace 10 grand. The tension in his voice hit me like a slap. Allison looked at me and shook her head slightly. That look that meant, don't downplay this. Then Sammy froze mid-movement. "Wait," he said slowly. "Aunt Natalie came by this morning." Allison's head snapped toward him. "Natalie was here?" "Yeah. She said she wanted to drop something off for you, Mom." I let her in. She stayed maybe 10 minutes. I went to the kitchen for cereal, and when I came back, she was gone. I felt a strange chill crawl up my neck. "You're saying your aunt was in the house alone?" Sammy nodded. "Yeah, just for a bit." Allison stood up straight, arms folded, her face tightening. "That's convenient," she muttered. "Hold on," I said quickly. "You're not seriously thinking Natalie took it, are you?" Allison looked at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Shane, the envelope didn't just walk out by itself." "Come on," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "She's my sister. She wouldn't steal from her own nephew. Maybe she moved something by accident or thought it was junk mail." Allison crossed her arms tighter. "You really think your sister can mistake $10,000 for junk mail?" Her tone stung, but I didn't want to feed that fire. "I'm just saying we don't have proof." Sammy stood there silent, jaw clenched, his face red from frustration. "Dad, I'm telling you, she was the only one here. You don't even believe me?" I took a slow breath. "It's not that I don't believe you. I just..." Ammon cut in. "Let's go confront her," I replied. "At this time, we can wait till the morning." Allison stopped halfway down the stairs and turned around slowly. "Shane, your son's entire savings just disappeared, and you want to wait until morning?" "I'm just saying we shouldn't jump to conclusions." Sammy scoffed. "Yeah, because heaven forbid Aunt Natalie gets accused of anything." Allison gave him a warning look, but he wasn't wrong. My chest felt tight, like I was being pulled between reason and family loyalty. She'd always been reckless, but stealing from my kid? That didn't feel possible. Allison didn't say another word. Sammy sat on the couch, arms folded, staring at the floor. Finally, she sighed and locked her phone. "We'll talk about it in the morning," she said, voice clipped. The house went dead silent after that. Sammy went to his room without saying goodnight. Allison didn't even glance at me when she walked past to our bedroom. I wanted to believe that this was just another misunderstanding, that she wouldn't go that far. But deep down, I already knew the truth was waiting for me on that camera footage. We planned to look first thing in the morning, but by noon, everything was already falling apart, and I wasn't sure I wanted to see it. Because 3 days before all this, I'd already seen enough of what my sister was capable of. It was Saturday afternoon, and Allison and I had gone to my parents' house after Mom called, saying they wanted to have a family talk. I already knew what that meant. Something about Natalie. It was always about Natalie. We walked in to find her sitting on the couch, legs crossed, holding her phone like she was waiting for an audience. She had that fake, cheerful grin she always used when she wanted something. "Shane, you look tired," she said, standing up and giving me a dramatic hug. "You work too much. You need to take better care of yourself." Allison gave her a polite smile. "Hi, Natalie." "Oh, hey," Natalie said, barely glancing at her. "Anyway, I've got news. Dad came in from the kitchen with his mug of coffee. You'll want to hear this, son. Your sister's taking a big step for herself." I already felt a headache forming. What kind of step? Natalie pulled up something on her phone and turned the screen toward me. Before and after pictures of plastic surgery transformations. I finally booked a consultation. It's a whole package deal. Nose, chin contouring, and lipo. 15,000 total. Allison's eyebrows shot up. 15,000? Natalie nodded proudly. "Yeah, I deserve it. I've spent my whole life feeling invisible, and I'm done with that. It's not vanity, it's self-care." I looked at her for a moment, trying to keep a straight face. 15 grand to feel visible? Sounds like your wallet's the one that's going to go invisible. She didn't laugh. "You think this is funny? You're the successful one here. You can easily help me out." "Help you out?" I repeated. "As in pay for your surgery?" She rolled her eyes. "Not all of it. Maybe half. You make what, 6 figures? It wouldn't even dent your bank account." Allison immediately spoke up. "Natalie, that's not something we're funding. That's a personal choice, not a necessity." Natalie's smile vanished. "Of course you'd say that," she snapped. "You wouldn't understand what it's like to be compared to other women your whole life. You've always been the put-together wife. You don't get it." Allison didn't flinch. "You're 34 years old, Natalie. If you're comparing yourself to other people, that's not a money issue. That's a mindset." My mom stepped in like she always did, voice dripping with fake calm. "Allison, you don't have to be so harsh. Natalie's been insecure since she was little. You could show some empathy." Allison folded her arms. "Empathy doesn't mean paying for unnecessary surgery." Natalie scoffed and turned to Dad. "See? She's always trying to put me down." Dad sighed, like this was some exhausting debate he'd been dragged into. "Son, you've been blessed in life. Your sister's never asked for much. She just needs a little help. Can't you support her once without making it a big deal?" "Never asked for much?" I almost laughed. "You mean besides the car I lent her that she wrecked, the rent money she never paid back?" Mom waved a hand dismissively. "Those were small mistakes. She's changed now." Natalie leaned forward, her tone turning sharp. "You always act like you're better than me, Shane. I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for support. Family helps family, remember?" I stared at her for a few seconds before saying flatly, "I'll give you 1,000. That's the most I can do." Her mouth dropped open. 1,000? Are you joking? That won't even cover the consultation and deposit. "Then maybe don't book a surgery you can't afford," Allison said, her tone calm but cutting. Natalie's face turned red. "You're unbelievable. You show off your perfect house, your fancy vacations, and then act broke when someone else needs help. Keep your pity money." She stood up so fast the chair squeaked across the floor. Mom jumped up to comfort her, like she was the one who'd been robbed. I stayed seated, keeping my voice level. "Natalie, this isn't about caring. It's about priorities. I have a son, I'm saving for his future, and you want me to hand over his tuition fund so you can sculpt your nose." She glared at me like I'd just insulted her existence. "You'll regret embarrassing me like this," she said quietly, then stormed out of the room. The front door slammed a second later. The room fell dead silent. My parents exchanged a look I knew too well. That silent judgment, that disappointment aimed right at me instead of her. Dad finally muttered, "You really didn't have to talk to her like that." Mom sighed. "You've always been so cold to your sister. One day when she's gone, you'll realize family is all that matters." Allison exhaled softly and looked at me. "We should go." On the drive home, Allison finally spoke, her voice calm but certain. "Your sister's not going to let this go. You embarrassed her in front of your parents. People like her don't forgive that. They get even." I didn't answer right away. I just gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. "She can be upset all she wants," I said finally. "I'm not paying for her insecurity." Allison turned her head toward the window. "You think it ends there? You know her better than that." I didn't respond, but I knew she was right. Natalie wasn't the type to take no as an answer. She'd find another way to get what she wanted, and 3 days later, I found out exactly how far she'd go. The next morning came faster than I expected. I woke up to the sound of Allison's phone buzzing nonstop. She was already dressed, sitting on the couch with that look that said she'd been up for a while. When I walked in, she didn't even look up. "Shane," she said flatly. I checked the cameras. I froze halfway to the kitchen. She turned the phone toward me. "You should see this." The footage played from the front door camera. It showed Natalie arriving at 9:22 a.m., carrying only her phone. No purse, no bag, nothing. She rang the bell, and a few seconds later, Sammy opened the door. I watched him wave, then walk back toward the kitchen. Natalie stepped inside. The footage jumped ahead 14 minutes. At 9:36, Natalie appeared again, this time holding a red envelope, the same one Sammy used for his car fund. She walked out casually. Allison paused the video. Empty-handed when she came in. Envelope when she left. "You still think this is a misunderstanding?" I didn't answer. My eyes stayed glued to the paused frame. Natalie halfway out the door, the envelope clearly visible under her arm. Sammy's voice came from the stairs. "That's it, right? That's my envelope." Allison nodded, her jaw tightening. "That's it." Sammy stepped closer, fists clenched. "She stole it, Dad." "Just say it." I exhaled slowly. "I'll call her. We'll talk first before we do anything else." Allison shook her head. "Don't call her. Call your parents. Let's see what story they come up with this time." I didn't like the sound of that, but I did it anyway. I dialed Mom first. She picked up on the second ring, her voice chipper as always. "Hi, honey. How's everything?" "Not great," I said. "I need to ask you something. Did Natalie mention coming to our house yesterday?" There was a short silence before she answered. "Oh, yes. She told me she stopped by to drop off something for Allison." "Why?" I kept my tone even. "Because she left with Sammy's envelope, the one he's been saving for his car. It's gone. I have her on camera taking it." Mom didn't sound surprised. "I'm sure there's an explanation, Shane. Maybe she picked up the wrong envelope. Don't start drama over this. You know how she gets." My jaw tightened. "Mom, there's no other envelope that looks like that. She stole it." "Don't use that word," Mom snapped. "You always jump to the worst conclusions about your sister. She's probably planning to bring it back." Then Dad's voice came through the speaker. He must have grabbed the phone. "Son, don't turn this into another family war. Natalie said she just borrowed something by accident. You've got your wife stirring things up again." Allison raised an eyebrow. I put it on speaker. "Dad, you already talked to her?" Dad cleared his throat. "She called last night. She said you'd probably blow this out of proportion, and I told her you wouldn't if you just remembered she's family." Allison crossed her arms. "Wow," she muttered. "They knew before we even called." That was the moment it clicked. The practiced calm in their voices, the way they dodged details. They knew. They'd known since last night. I clenched my jaw. "You're covering for her again. She steals from my kid, and your first reaction is to protect her?" Mom sighed dramatically. "Don't exaggerate. It's not like she robbed a bank. Sammy's young. He'll make that money back someday. Let it go for the family's sake." Allison stepped closer, her voice cold. "Your grandson worked for that money. You realize your daughter just committed theft, right?" Mom ignored her completely. "Shane, I'm serious. Don't ruin the family over something small. Natalie said she'll stop by tomorrow to clear things up." I ended the call without another word. The room went silent, except for the faint hum of the fridge. Allison looked at me, arms crossed, waiting for me to say something smart or decisive. I had nothing. Sammy broke the silence. "So, Grandma and Grandpa knew? They let her do it?" I nodded slowly. "Seems that way." Allison exhaled sharply. "I told you this would happen. They've been enabling her for years. You're the only one still pretending she's going to change." "I know," I said quietly. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "We need to confront her in person. No calls, no texts. Face to face. And you need to be clear this time. No soft talking, no excuses." I hesitated for a second, staring at the paused footage again. Natalie's smirk in that frame made my stomach turn. "All right," I said finally. "We'll go tomorrow morning." Sammy was standing near the stairs, arms crossed, his expression colder than I'd ever seen it. "No," he said firmly. "We're not waiting till tomorrow. You either handle this now, or I'll handle it myself." Allison looked at him, startled by the tone. He pointed at the phone on the counter. "You always said honesty and hard work matter more than anything. Well, she stole the result of mine. If you don't stand up for me, Dad, I'll do it myself." The silence that followed hit heavier than any argument. Allison's eyes met mine. She didn't have to say a word. She was thinking the same thing I was. Natalie had just crossed a line she couldn't come back from. By noon, Allison already had her purse, keys, and that look that meant there was no talking her out of this. Sammy stood by the door, jaw tight, hoodie on, ready before I even grabbed my phone. I didn't say much. I just told them, we're going now. The drive to my parents' house was silent. I could feel the tension in the air like static before a storm. Allison sat straight, eyes fixed ahead. Sammy's hands were balled into fists in his lap. Every red light felt like it lasted an hour. When we pulled into the driveway, Natalie's car was parked crooked near the garage. I didn't bother knocking. I just walked straight to the front door and rang the bell twice. Mom answered, surprised. Shane, what are you... Where's Natalie? I cut in. She hesitated. Inside, why? I didn't respond. I stepped past her and into the living room. Natalie was there, lounging on the couch with her phone, laughing at something on the screen. She looked up, startled, then smiled like we'd shown up for Sunday brunch. Well, this is a surprise, she said, setting her phone down. What's with the serious faces? Allison crossed her arms. You know exactly why we're here. Natalie tilted her head innocently. I really don't. I kept my tone calm, steady. Natalie, did you take something from my house yesterday morning? She blinked, playing dumb. Take something? Like what? An envelope, I said. Sammy's envelope. She laughed, like it was ridiculous. You mean that red thing on his desk? Yeah, I saw it. I thought it was junk mail or something. I moved it. What's the big deal? Sammy's voice cut through the room, sharp and angry. You didn't move it. You took it. Natalie's smile vanished. Watch your tone, kid. You don't talk to adults like that. Allison stepped forward, voice steady. Natalie, we saw the footage. You came in empty-handed and left holding it. Just give it back. Natalie's eyes darted between us, then she forced a laugh. Footage? You people have cameras now? Wow. Paranoid much? Sammy didn't move. Just admit it. You took my envelope. That broke her calm. Her voice rose instantly. You think you can talk to me like that? Disrespectful little brat. Before anyone could stop her, she stood up and slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed. Sammy stumbled back a step, holding his cheek, eyes wide, not crying, just stunned. For a moment, no one moved. Then Allison snapped, Are you insane? She shoved Natalie backward with both hands, sending her into the arm of the couch. You touch him again, and you'll regret it. Natalie's eyes widened, then twisted into fury. Don't you dare touch me! You're crazy. Mom rushed into the room yelling, Allison, stop this. Dad came in right behind her shouting, What the hell is going on here? I stepped in between them before it could explode further. She hit Sammy, I shouted, my voice shaking. She slapped my son in front of me. Dad pointed a finger at Allison instead. And you attacked your sister-in-law in my house. You've lost your mind. Allison was breathing hard but standing firm. She assaulted a minor! Natalie's voice cracked, but she was still acting. They barged in here screaming at me. She hit me first. Sammy yelled, That's a lie. I pulled my phone from my pocket, my hand trembling, not from fear, from fury. That's enough. I'm calling the police. Mom gasped. Shane, no. You're not calling the cops on your own sister. I already had the phone to my ear. Watch me. Natalie's tone flipped instantly to panic. You're all crazy. You want to destroy your own family over some stupid cash? Allison turned on her. That stupid cash was your nephew's hard work for years. You stole it and then you hit him. Natalie started shouting over her. You people set me up. I didn't take anything. I'll sue you both for assault. You think you're untouchable? Sammy just stood there, red mark across his cheek, staring at his aunt like he didn't recognize her anymore. Dad was yelling something about how this family was falling apart. Mom was crying, and Natalie kept pacing, waving her hands dramatically like she was the victim. It was chaos, loud, ugly, and long overdue. The 911 dispatcher answered, and I spoke clearly, my voice low but steady. Yes, I need to report a theft and assault. My sister hit my 16-year-old son, and we have video evidence of her stealing from our home. Mom grabbed my arm. Shane, hang up that phone right now. I pulled away. No, you've been protecting her for too long. Allison was standing guard in front of Sammy, watching Natalie like a hawk. You can threaten us all you want, but this ends today, she said firmly. Natalie pointed at her, shaking with rage. You just assaulted me. When the cops come, you'll be the one in cuffs. Allison didn't blink. Then let them come. The room went dead quiet for a moment. Only the sound of my dad's heavy breathing and my mom's muffled sobs filled the air. Then, faintly, through the walls, came the sound I'd been waiting for, the wail of sirens in the distance, getting closer every second. Natalie's fake confidence melted. You called them? She whispered, like it was unthinkable. Yes, I said flatly. And this time, you're not walking away with an apology and a family dinner. Natalie started pacing, muttering under her breath. Mom kept pleading with me to stop, and Dad stood frozen, glaring at me like I was the traitor. As the knock came at the door and the shouting reached its peak, Sammy stood perfectly still in the middle of the chaos. A 16-year-old kid realizing his aunt, his grandparents, and half his family had just chosen a thief over him. And in that moment, I knew nothing about this family would ever be the same again. The police arrived within minutes. 2 officers, one male, one female, stepped into the living room where the chaos was still echoing. Everyone started talking at once. They took statements, reviewed the footage, and issued Natalie a summons for theft and assault pending review by the district attorney. The male officer raised his hand. Everyone, calm down. We'll sort this out one at a time. The female officer pointed toward the dining room. You, sir, she gestured to me. Come with me, please. They separated us into different rooms. I could still hear snippets of voices through the walls, Natalie's high-pitched whining, my mom's overdramatic sighs, Allison's sharp tone cutting through it all. I explained everything. The envelope, the footage, the slap, the years of covering for Natalie. The officer wrote everything down carefully, nodding. When he was done, he asked, Do you have proof of the theft? I showed him the video on my phone. He watched silently, then said, That's pretty clear. She walked out with the envelope. Meanwhile, in the other room, Natalie was apparently building her own version of the story. When the officers gathered us all again, she was calm, too calm. She held her phone like a weapon. She's lying, Natalie said, pointing at Allison. They're all lying. Sammy told me I could borrow that money. I have proof. She handed her phone to the female officer. Here, look. He texted me. The officer read something on the screen, then turned to me. It says, It's fine, Aunt Natalie. I trust you. Just bring it back when you can. That message came from a number saved as Sammy. Sammy's mouth dropped open. That's not me. I never said that. Natalie crossed her arms. You did. Maybe you're embarrassed now, but don't lie. Allison's voice shot out like a blade. That's a fake text. Anyone can change a contact name and text themselves. The officer frowned. Do you have Sammy's actual number? Yes, I said immediately, pulling out my phone. Check the last 4 digits. They won't match. They checked. The numbers didn't match. Natalie's confident expression cracked for a second, but Mom jumped in before she could lose control. Wait, maybe Sammy has another number. You know how kids are. Natalie wouldn't lie about that. Dad nodded quickly. Exactly. She's not some criminal. This whole thing is being blown out of proportion. Allison laughed bitterly. You two really can't help yourselves, can you? You're covering for her again. Natalie put on her wounded face. I made a mistake taking it without asking, okay? But I didn't steal anything. I thought it was fine. I didn't know he was saving for something important. Sammy spoke up, his voice shaking with anger. You hit me. You stole from me. Stop lying. The officer sighed. All right, that's enough. This will need to be sorted formally. Mr. Barker, he looked at me. Do you want to press charges for theft? I looked at Allison, then at Sammy. My son's cheek was still red. That was all the answer I needed. Yes, I said. I'm filing a report. Her mom gasped like I'd just confessed to murder. Shane, you can't do that. She's your sister. She's a thief, I said flatly. And she hit my kid. Family or not, that's where it ends. Natalie's eyes widened. You're actually pressing charges? You'll ruin me. You ruined yourself, Allison shot back. The officers gathered the footage, my statement, and took photos of Sammy's face. Natalie was told not to contact us until the investigation moved forward. She stormed off, muttering threats as Mom followed, still sobbing about how we'd regret this. 2 days later, I got an email from one of Natalie's old coworkers. He said word was spreading around the office. HR had started an internal audit, and Natalie's name was showing up in the reports. Some funds were missing, and people were whispering that she was the main suspect. I didn't want to believe it at first, but the pattern fit too well. Theft at home, now money disappearing at work. It wasn't bad luck. It was who she'd become. I didn't want to believe it at first, but the pattern fit too well. Theft at home, now money disappearing at work. It wasn't bad luck. It was who she'd become. Allison was standing in the doorway, watching me. What now? She asked. She's under investigation at work, I said. Embezzlement. Apparently, it's not just Sammy's money she's been taking. Allison shook her head slowly. Of course she is. But Natalie wasn't done. That night, a notification popped up on my phone. An email from a law firm. A few days later, Natalie's lawyer started pushing a complaint about Allison attacking her without cause. It never made it to a real lawsuit, just a police referral for review. Allison read over my shoulder and laughed. She hit our son and stole from him, and I'm the one being sued? This woman's delusional. She's desperate, I said quietly, and dangerous. The next few days turned into chaos again. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone had an opinion. Most of them didn't even know the truth. Sammy walked into the kitchen quietly and asked, "Are we really going to court?" "Yes," I said. "And this time there's no way out for her." Allison reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Good, because people like her only learn when the consequences finally catch up. I looked at both of them, then at the stack of evidence on the table. This time, I said firmly, she's not getting away with it. 6 months later, after endless paperwork, statements, and court dates being pushed back, we finally sat in a packed courtroom. The air felt heavier than I expected. Months of waiting had built up to this moment. Natalie sat at the defendant's table, looking smaller than usual, her hair perfectly styled but her face pale. My parents sat right behind her, stiff and cold, refusing to even glance my way. Allison sat next to me, calm as ever, her hands folded over a stack of documents. Sammy was behind us, quiet, watching everything like he was trying to memorize it. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The sound of the gavel echoed through the room, and the trial began. Natalie's lawyer started strong, his tone full of fake sympathy. "Your Honor, my client, Miss Barker, deeply regrets this misunderstanding. She believed her nephew gave her permission to borrow the funds in question. She has also been a victim of physical assault by her sister-in-law, who attacked her without provocation." I could feel Allison roll her eyes next to me. The lawyer continued, showing the fake text message. "Here is a message from Sammy saying, 'It's fine, Aunt Natalie. I trust you.'" Clearly, there was no intent to steal. Sammy shook his head in disbelief. Our lawyer stood and said, "Your Honor, we'll prove that message came from a fake number registered under a texting app. It's fraud on top of theft." Then it was our turn. Our attorney walked to the center of the room and set up a small monitor. "This," he said, "is the security footage from the Barkers' front door camera." He pressed play. The video filled the screen. Natalie walking in empty-handed. Natalie walking out 14 minutes later, holding the red envelope. The same one Sammy had kept under his mattress. You could hear whispers from the gallery. Even the judge leaned forward. Our lawyer continued. "Ms. Barker initially denied taking anything, then claimed she had permission, and when caught, produced falsified evidence. That's not a misunderstanding. That's manipulation." He handed over the printed phone records. "These are the actual logs from Sammy Barker's carrier. The number used in the supposed message doesn't match. It's a third-party app. The timestamp was created an hour after police arrived at the defendant's home." Natalie's face went red, but our lawyer wasn't done. "And finally," he said, pulling another paper from his folder, "we've obtained a copy of an internal investigation from Ms. Barker's employer, confirming she's also being disciplined for misappropriation of company funds. This pattern shows a clear disregard for honesty and accountability." The judge, a stern woman with glasses low on her nose, looked directly at Natalie. "Is this true? Are you also under investigation at your workplace?" Natalie's lawyer tried to interject, but the judge held up her hand. "Miss Barker, answer the question." Natalie's voice cracked. "Yes, but it's unrelated." "Unrelated?" the judge repeated. "You stole money from your nephew, faked messages to cover it up, and are being investigated for fraud at work. How exactly is that unrelated?" The silence in the room was deafening. Natalie looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Then, like she'd rehearsed it, she started crying. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to feel better about myself. I thought if I fixed how I looked, I could finally be happy. I didn't think it would go this far." The judge wasn't moved. "You didn't think it would go this far because your family always covered for you. That stops here." The gavel hit the desk. "This court finds the defendant guilty of theft, falsification of evidence, and attempted fraud." You could feel the entire courtroom holding its breath as the judge read the verdict. "Natalie Barker, you are sentenced to 1 year of a suspended sentence, a $2,000 fine, repayment of $10,530 to the victim, and 200 hours of community service. You will also be placed on probation pending the outcome of your company's investigation." Natalie's sobs filled the room. Then the judge turned to Allison. As for Mrs. Allison Barker, the judge said, the court finds her actions were taken in defense of a minor. No assault charges will be filed. The municipal citation for disorderly conduct is dismissed. Allison nodded, calm and composed. Natalie's lawyer gathered his papers without a word. Behind her, my parents sat frozen. My mother's face was pale, her lips trembling. My father shook his head, glaring at me like I'd just burned the family name. When the session ended, everyone started standing, murmuring to each other. I turned to walk out, but I caught sight of someone near the aisle. Natalie's boyfriend. He looked disgusted. As she reached for him, he pulled his arm away and said quietly, "I'm done, Natalie. I can't keep doing this." He walked out without looking back. Natalie covered her face and cried harder. Allison and I didn't stay to watch. We walked straight toward the exit. My parents were waiting by the doors. Mom glared at me, eyes wet. "You're heartless, Shane. You humiliated your sister. You destroyed this family." Dad added, "You could have handled this privately. You're no son of mine." Allison stopped beside me, looked them dead in the eyes and said, "He protected his son. Something neither of you ever did today." Mom gasped, clutching her purse like Allison had slapped her. We walked out without another word. A year has passed since that day in court, but some memories don't fade no matter how much time you put between them. The shouting, the gavel hitting, my parents' faces, it all still plays like a clip on repeat in the back of my head. But life moved on, whether we were ready or not. Sammy turned 17 a few months ago. He's different now, more cautious, more grown up than a kid his age should have to be. After the court mess, Allison and I opened a proper bank account for him. Every paycheck from his weekend job goes straight there now. He checks it every week like clockwork, proud of every dollar. "Not keeping it in an envelope this time," he said once with a half smile. "Too risky." He's saving for the same thing, a car. But there's a maturity in him that wasn't there before. What happened taught him more about trust and boundaries than I ever could have. I hate that it came at that cost. But at least he learned. As for Natalie, she finally paid back every cent. The court made sure of that. She lost her job not long after the trial when the company's investigation confirmed the fraud case. From what I heard, she got caught transferring small amounts from the company's client fund into her personal account. She avoided jail again because of probation, but her career in finance was done for good. Now she works part-time at a salon downtown, sweeping floors and booking appointments. Someone told me she still tries to act like the victim, saying I ruined her life over a family misunderstanding. Some people believe her. Others know better. Mom and Dad, though, they've picked their side and never looked back. They moved into a smaller place after Dad retired. Every holiday, every family event, the invites stop at Natalie plus guest. Not once have they reached out to me or Allison. I've sent messages on birthdays, tried calling twice, but all I get is silence. To them, I'll always be the son who destroyed his sister's future. Last month, I ran into Mom at the grocery store. I didn't even notice her at first. I was in the produce section comparing prices on apples. When I looked up, she was a few feet away, holding a basket. We locked eyes for half a second. She froze like she didn't expect me to be real. "Mom," I said quietly. She hesitated, then turned her cart around and walked away without a word. Not a hello, not even a nod. Just gone. I stood there for a minute, pretending to check the fruit like it didn't sting. But it did. Seeing your own mother treat you like a stranger, it hits different. That night, Allison reached over, brushing crumbs off the table. "We didn't lose family," she said quietly. "We lost the people pretending to be one." Her words hung in the air for a moment. I looked at her, then at Sammy, and something eased inside me. For the first time in a long time, there was peace. No phone calls, no arguments, no pretending everything was fine. Just us. Sammy smiled faintly. "Feels better this way?" he said. And he was right. It did. After dinner, we stayed at the table longer than usual, just talking. Not about money or court or family, but about normal stuff. School, work, plans for the summer. It felt simple again. Real. When Sammy went upstairs, Allison and I sat in silence for a while, just listening to the quiet hum of the house. "We finally got our life back," she said softly. "Yeah," I said, glancing toward the stairs. "And this time, no one's taking it away." For the first time in years, I believed that. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.